And welcome to this webinar in partnership with NHH. While we are waiting for everyone to connect, I just wanted to ask you to please pop in the chat where you are connecting from, just so we can get to know you a little bit better, and we can allow everyone to join us for this event. So, of course, the focus will be the programs offered by NHH, and as you may already know, NHH is the best business school in Norway, so we will have the chance of getting firsthand information about the programs, the student life, the available scholarships, and everything really about the student life in Bergen, Norway. So in the meantime, hello, Ahmad. Thank you for joining us. It's a pleasure to have you here, and hello to everyone who is still connecting. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Lavinia, and I will be moderating this event on behalf of Docsity. We have, of course, spokespeople from NHH as well. Namely, we have some students, and I would like to leave the floor to them to introduce themselves, just so you can get to know them. And of course, the scope of this event is to give you an insight into their own experience, but feel free to pop any questions you may have in the Q&A box or in the chat, and we will gladly take them during the Q&A session after the initial presentation. So once again, welcome to this event. And now I would like to leave the floor to Maria. Thank you so much.
Lavinia. Thank you. So hello, everybody. Welcome to this webinar, of course, about the Norwegian School of Economics, NHH. And we have an agenda for today, which we will see on slide 2. Yeah, so this is our agenda for today. There's quite a few themes that we're going to go through. And as Lavinia mentioned, please feel free to write any questions you might have in the chat so that we can answer them after the webinar. So to start off with the presentation, I'm just going to give you a brief fact about NHH. I also just want to say that, yeah, my name is Maria, and I'm a student at NHH, and I'm pursuing a specialization in strategy and management. So yeah, NHH is a publicly owned business school and was actually established way back in 1936, which makes us the oldest and only independent business school in Norway. There's around 3,500 students at campus. So it's not a huge campus, but the really cool or great thing, I think, is that it's a business-only campus. So everyone around here has the same interests. So that's a great thing. And on this picture on the slide, you can see a picture of our beautiful campus, which is located on a cliff and is surrounded by the beautiful nature of Bergen. And as you can see, the fjords and mountains that surround the city. I also think it's worth mentioning that NHH collaborates with tons of really great universities and business schools around the world in more than 50 different countries. So there's quite a few international opportunities as well if you want to go on an exchange while you're here as well. Also, international students are guaranteed housing through a Norwegian student society called Sammen. So you'd be guaranteed that if you choose to come to NHH. Also it's also worth mentioning that NHH is Norway's best business school, but it's also an internationally renowned business school, and it's actually Triple Crown accredited, so you're guaranteed a good quality good quality courses. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to Mikko, who's going to tell you more about our master program.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Mikko. I come from Finland, and I'm on my last year of master's here at NHH. And I want to talk a bit about our master's program and the flexibility of it. So our master program has been ranking the top in Norway as the master's in management and management program, and is the highest rated program of this kind here in Norway. We have a very flexible program structure, and the master program consists of major elective courses that can include a minor, and then it's the master thesis. And here on the next slide, you can see the 9 different majors you can choose from when you study at NHH. So the master's degree in economics and business administration is super flexible. It allows you to tailor your profile based on your interest and your career plans. And as you can see here, I think it's safe to say that you can really find something based on your interests. Me, for example, I chose to major in marketing and brand management because I have an interest in branding and would like to work with some leading outdoor companies and build their brand and their products marketing. Business industry is changing all the time. That's why NHH constantly introduces new subjects and courses that fits these changes. Concrete example of this is our master specialization in business analytics, where you learn quantitative analytical tools for purpose of value creation for business. Also, NHH has an increased commitment to ensure that the students learn sustainability with a large selection of subjects, as well as creating a master's specialization in energy, natural resources, and environment. And now I will go through the careers and internships part of the presentation.
Hi everyone, my name is Aygül. I'm from Azerbaijan and I'm second year master's student at NHH. I'm doing a major in financial economics and minor in business analytics. Now I'll share my internship experience with you during the summer of 2022. In the next slide, you'll see my photos from my internship at Rystad Energy. Rystad Energy is an independent energy research and business intelligence company, and it has operations all over the world. So I had my summer internship there for the year 2022. So I'll tell you about a bit about the process. I started applying for summer internships in the beginning of the semester because usually Norwegian companies share the advertisements really early, sometimes even 1 year in advance. So I had a couple of tests and interviews, and eventually I got 3 offers for the internship, and I chose Rystad Energy. And I moved to Oslo for the summer. And here you can see the dates that I applied and received the offer. So it was pretty quick. So it was an amazing experience because I had a chance to learn the dynamics of energy industry, to apply my knowledge and skills in the different programming languages, like the ones that I learned from the business analytics courses. And I had a chance to work on 3 large-scale projects. So working in a Norwegian company from a cultural background is different because you get a lot of independence even though you're an intern. You get an independence to work with the tasks however you want, but also you get a mentor who can guide you when necessary. The internship was unique because it was very flexible with a lot of social activities, Friday events, team building activities. And at the end of the internship, we had a big presentation where we presented our learnings, outcomes, and contributions to the whole company. And then based on my performance evaluation, I was offered a full-time position for August 2023, right after my graduation. And I'll continue my career at Rystad Energy after I graduate this semester. So I landed on my dream job 1 year in advance without even starting to apply for new positions. So my advice to you would be to start the process really early on. And as you see from my example, it's a really safe way to apply the internship, then have the full-time job there, because if they're satisfied with your performance, then you'll be their first choice. So good luck, guys. Now I'll hand over the word to Maria again.
Thank you. And congrats with your full-time job offer. That's great. So just like I will, I'm also on my 2nd year of my master's degree, which is the last year. So we're both graduating this summer. And like you also, I also landed my dream job more than a year in advance of graduation. So like most students, I started off at NHH not really knowing what I wanted to do for a job or like for my career. And these pictures on the left side are of me the first few weeks visiting Bergen, meeting new friends or getting to know new people. And then just a few weeks after starting, there was this event at NHH, which is called a Norwegian Karrieredagene, which roughly translates to career days, which is a career event where you get to meet a lot of different companies. And I don't know if Rista Energy were there, but I bet they were. So yeah, there's Norwegian companies, but there's also a lot of international companies. So even if you want to work abroad or in Norway or whatever you're up to, there's something for everyone. And considering that NHH is a business only school, there's just business companies or economics companies, so that or companies that offer these kind of positions. So I actually met my future employer here, which is called Capgemini Invent, and it's a French company that has offices in more than 40 countries worldwide. So if I'd ever want to have the chance to go abroad, I definitely do. And the great thing is, like kind of like you, Egil, I spoke to them at this event at NHH on campus, and I had a continuous dialogue with them. And before the end of the year, they actually called me up and asked me if I wanted to come in for an interview. So I even skipped the whole application process. And that was a possibility I had since they came to campus and tried to recruit us students. And that's the really great thing with being at NHH. You realize that you're very, or that companies are very attracted to you as a student. And they do come to campus all the time, even weekly. There's different companies on stands out there to recruit you, but there's also these kinds of events that get you to secure your job even a year before you graduate. So that's a really great thing. And yeah, with that, I'd like to hand the word over to Sabrina.
Yeah, great. Thank you. My name is Sabrina. I'm also in my last semester here at NHH, and I'm in the Energy and Natural Resources major. And I would like to tell you a little bit about the international opportunities that we offer here at NHH. So next to the regular exchange options, NHH also offers the SEMS Masters in International Management, which is what I'm doing, and also other double degree programs. And I'll tell you a little bit about the SEMS Masters first. So the SEMS Masters works technically like a double degree in the sense that you graduate with 2 master degrees. But you get one from NHH and one from SEMS. So as opposed to regular double degrees, you're not getting it from a second school, but from the SEMS Alliance. And the SEMS Alliance essentially is a global alliance of leading business schools, multinational companies, and NGOs. And they came together to design this master's, which is highly ranked. So as you can probably tell from that, there's a lot of focus on industry exposure and cooperation with relevant companies that will eventually also help you secure a job, just like Maria and Adrian told you about. So they have, the master's includes an international internship, business projects, skill seminars offered by companies, but also company visits where you can just go and get to know companies. And then the program also highly focuses on international exposure and global citizenship. So there's one mandatory exchange. For example, I went to the University of Sydney in Australia last semester. And then the exchange semester is really flexible, which means you can go either in the 3rd or 4th semester, which means that even when you're at your home school, there will be a lot of exchange students with you in the SEMS classes. For example, I just came back, and in my class here, there's people from 18 different nationalities. So you don't really even have to go far to meet international people and have different inputs, which I think is really cool. And yeah, before I talk a little bit more about my exchange in Australia, I would just like to hand it over to Molly shortly, who's taking a double degree at NHH as well.
Yeah, thank you. So like Sabrina said, I am a dual degree candidate. So I'm actually in Norway from Canada, and my home school is the Ivy Business School in London, Ontario. And I applied to the double degree program so that I could come to NHH and pursue a second master's degree here. And what this means is that I've spent a full year at both universities. And at the end of the 2 years, I will get a degree from both universities, which has been a really great opportunity for me in terms of really building out my network at both schools, and also having the opportunity to study for a full year at both schools. Means that I've been able to really integrate myself and really get to know Norway super well, and see myself in this working environment going into the future. And so have been really enjoyed my experience so far with the double degree, and it's definitely an excellent option that NHH offers its master's students to be able to pursue in quite a few different schools across Europe, as well as Australia and Canada, if that's something you're interested in your master's.
Okay, thanks, Molly. I'll take it from there. If we can go to the next slide. Yeah, perfect. So I'll just tell you quickly a little bit about my time in Australia as part of my SEMS degree. So as I mentioned before, I chose the University of Sydney in Australia for my destination, and I flew there like last July. And I was actually pretty happy to not just go there on my own, but to be part of the SEMS program, because the university is fairly large. There's like about 70,000 people, which is quite a lot compared to the 3,500 we have here in Bergen. So I probably would have been a little bit lost without the others. And there were a few people from NHH as well, but technically we were like 60 people from different schools all over the world. So we were like a really international setting already when we came. And while the semester was of course like busy with courses, assignments, and projects, I think we, like the SEMS Club, which organizes events at every SEMS school, did a pretty good job in like organizing different fun events. Like we went to surf camp, as you can see here. We also had karaoke nights and dinners, beach cleanups, and many more events. And then once the exams were done in like mid-November, I still had some time to spend before going home. So I tried to see as much as possible of Australia, but Australia is really large, as you probably know. So yeah, I traveled with my friends that I made there. And even after coming home in like mid-January, I know that I'll stay connected with these people, because that's one of the nicest parts about SEMS is like there's a huge alumni network, and there's so many international events organized that you can always join. Like for example, in March, there's one coming up called Nordic Forum in Denmark, and I already know I'm going to see like my friends there that I made in Australia, but also the people that are like have been there. We can meet again. So SEMS is really about creating a global network that will essentially enable you to boost your career. And with that, I'll hand it over to the next person.
Yeah, so on the next slide, I'll share a little bit about living in Bergen, especially living in Bergen as a new international student. I just arrived here in August of 2022. And as you can see sort of from this first photo, Bergen is famously surrounded by 7 different mountains, and is also located right on the sea. So really beautiful scenery. And pretty much anywhere you are in the city, you're only a few minutes away from a hike or any outdoor activity, which is really nice and something that definitely drew me to the city itself. And just on the next slide, I have a couple of photos and would love to share a little bit about my own like international experience. And so on the left, you can see here just a photo of some of me and my friends that I made when I first came to NHH, going on a hike up one of the mountains, going for a swim in the sea, and then also cooking together. And so one of the nice things about the student welfare organization that Maria mentioned earlier is that they guarantee housing for international students. And I moved into one of these housing apartments when I first came to Norway, and this was located just a couple of minutes from campus. They have dorm rooms and then some really big kitchens where a lot of the students will get together and cook together. And me and my friends would, cook meals together and just have nice nights there. And that was really enjoyable. And then just this January, I moved out of Heidelberg, which is that student building, and I moved into an apartment building with one of the friends that I made, and we just subletted the apartment. And that was a super easy transition. And through there's a couple of different websites that make it super easy for students, even international students, to access housing in the private market and take advantage of that option if that's something that interests you and if that's something that you kind of want a little bit more independence. So would highly recommend both experiences, and there's definitely no wrong option when it comes to deciding where you want to live in Bergen. And I will pass it off to, I think, Maria to talk about the government-funded business school.
Yes, so I just wanted to briefly mention that the typical Norwegian school model is that universities and schools in Norway are government funded, which means that normally students that are within the EU, EEA, and Switzerland don't have to pay any tuition fees. Usually there were no tuition fees for anyone, but from this year on, the government has decided that students outside of, like I said, EU, EEA, and Switzerland will have to pay tuition fees from fall 2023. So all the practicality around it is still undecided and still not completely ready. But when we know any more of it, we're going to provide it to the affected international students whenever it's ready. So yeah, and with that, I'd like to introduce you guys to Guro, who works in the admission offices.
Hi everyone, my name is Guro and I work at the admission office at NHH, and I will give you a short introduction about the application requirements and application procedure. We have tried to make the application process easy for you by giving you a step-by-step guide on our admission webpage that you find on our NHH page. I'm therefore not going to go very deeply into all the requirements, but rather show you where you can find all the information you need. And most of you will find all the information you need on our webpage, but you can, of course, ask questions during the Q&A or send an email to admission afterward. So on the next page, these are the minimum requirements for a study program. We have admission once a year, and the program starts in August. So the requirements listed are only the minimum requirements, and these requirements cannot be compensated by work experience, test results, or other criteria. Some are exempted from the GMAT or GRE test or the English requirement, and on our webpage you can find information about whether or not you are exempted for this. So I will recommend you to go through our webpage and do like a checklist, so check if you are qualified, and also gather all the documents at the same time. It's important to be ready before the deadline, because all the documents must be ready by 15th of February. So if you have to take the GMAT test or an English test, you should do that a good time before the deadline, because we need to have access to the electronic test results by the deadline. So on the next page, I will show you where you find this, all the requirements. So here you can see that the main page, and here you can also find all the requirements, but I recommend using the application procedure when you apply, because this gives you really detailed information about exactly what we want to see in your application, and also for the document requirements. This gives you information about which documentation we need, and also what we would like you to upload your file as, like the name, because sometimes there are a lot of documents and we highly appreciate it if they are named correctly. And also you need to remember that if you get admission, you have to show the original documents when you arrive at NHH. So you have to bring these to Norway. If you do not have like electronic signature on your documents. So all the students are admitted during the spring semester, and most of the applicants will get the results in April. And during the application period, I recommend you to pay attention to your email, because if we are missing something from your application, we might send you an email and ask you to upload some more documents. So then I think it's time for the Q&A.
Yes, thank you, Guro. So lastly, I just want to change the slide. Yeah, there we go. So hi everyone, my name is Martha Santor. I'm responsible for student recruitment at NHH and is the one that is responsible for this webinar. Very happy to see all of you here today. Hope you got a lot of good information from our wonderful students. To summarize it, we gave you 5 very good reasons for why you should consider studying at NHH Norwegian School of Economics. First of all, as we mentioned, we are Norwegian, the highest ranked business school in Norway from the FT ranking. We are a triple accredited business school. This is reason number 1. To summarize number 2, the flexibility, as Mikko talked about, and all the different specializations you can choose from gives you a high degree of flexibility. As both Ayul and Maria mentioned, the fantastic opportunities to get a career and to land a dream job 1 year before you actually finish at NHH is fantastic, and also the possibility to have internships between the years you studied. And then we have the great international opportunities that Sabrina and Molly highlighted, that Sabrina now has been half a year in Australia, and that she did is part of the SAMS alliances, gaining a lot of new international friends. And for Molly, who has now get 1 full year at NHH and get both the degree from NHH and from Canada, which is fantastic. And she has now give you the good reasons to why you should consider Bergen, have shown beautiful photos, and you have seen now the spectacular nature. And that's why I wanted to finish off with a beautiful picture of the fjords, who is only a couple of hours away with a car or a boat. So then we have come to the Q&A session,
Yes,
and our host today, she will then, Lydia, will start reading up the questions, and I will then give the question to the person that can answer.
That is correct, Martha. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for giving us an insight of what your experience at NHH has been. And of course, I did see some questions coming through also in the chat, but I just wanted to mention that if students have any more questions incoming for us, they are free to type them in the Q&A box, and we will gladly take them after we run through those that already came in. So to start off with the first things first, a student asks us how they can apply for studying at NHH. And I know we just reviewed the admissions criteria, but perhaps you can review them once again for those who joined us a bit later on. Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I will answer that question. So on the NHH web page, you will find a link to the application portal where you can apply. And here you also find a lot of information about what we need in your application. And if you have problem finding the application portal, you can send an email to the admission office at NHH, and we will send you the link. So the email is admission@nhh.no.
Thank you so much, Guro. So to move to the next question, I see that we have a couple of questions actually in the chat, and I would like to get to those first, just so we don't lose them. So we have a participant, she's joining us from Italy, actually. Hello, Dalila, and thank you so much for being here with us. So Dalila is interested in the Marketing and Brand Management Master, and she's asking about the admission requirements. She's also mentioning that she has a bachelor degree in communication, media, and advertising from an Italian university in Milan. So can we cover the admission criteria for this specific master? Are they the same across the board, or are there different admission criteria for each program? Thank you so much.
So I will answer this question as well. And there are the same admission requirements for all the different specializations. So if you don't have an bachelor degree specific in economics and administration, you need to check if you have 90 CTCS within economics and administration. So these are more detail explained on our webpage.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So she's also asking if there's any entrance exam to actually get through, and if we can cover the costs. As we mentioned, tuition is free for students within the EU/EA, so I think that is self-explanatory, but just to confirm with you. Thank you.
Yeah, I can confirm that the tuition fee when it comes to EU, EAA, and Switzerland is free.
Perfect. And to move to the next question that we got in the chat. So a participant is asking if there are any scholarships available for international students aside from the tuition free fee that we just mentioned. And they are also asking about the English proficiency requested, but we also covered that. So if we can just move back to the slide, just in case. Thank you so much.
Yes, so when it comes to scholarships, we do have, it's one scholarship, Guro, isn't it? That we have, but you apply to NHH, get accepted to NHH, and then you apply for scholarship after you have been accepted. And this is because we don't have a tuition fee also. We don't have a practice to have like a lot of scholarships offered. And this might change in the future now with the new model for people outside EU, EEA, but it's too early to say how this model will look like. But I know we have one scholarship, but I know that that's an external company that has given that scholarship. It's a shipping company. It's called Wilhelmsen. And you have to apply for it after you actually start at NHH, and there's a qualification period that you apply when you come to NHH as a student. So you cannot get it before, if I'm not correct, Guro.
Yes, I think you are correct. And I also would like to recommend if you just type in Google financing your studies at NHH, then you will find a webpage there we give a little bit more information about that NHH does not offer scholarship, but we are recommending some external scholarships.
Thank you so much for all the info. So to move forward with the other questions, and I do want to encourage participants, if they have any doubts, any curiosities about the present students that are here with us and about their own experiences at NHH, to feel free and to just ask away. This event is designed especially to give you some really useful insight into what life at NHH could be for you. So I will proceed with asking if NHH offers any master programs for computer science.
We do have a master specialization, and I know that's called business analytics. That's the closest one to computer science. It has elements of both business programs and analytics. Ayul, if I remember correctly, have you been taking any programming or computer science programs in combination with your finance specialization?
Yes, I have taken R for data science, Python application development, and applied textual analysis. It's, as you said, it's a combination of programming, mainly in R, but there are 2 courses offering Python as well. You combine the programming skills with the finance-related subjects. Like you can have a case study where you develop a financial dictionary, for example. Or you can have a project where you analyze the textual reports or financial data using the programming, but it's only in the financial context.
Thank you so much, Aygul, for your input. So a participant is asking if there's any masters in the field of accounting or auditing or both.
Yes, there is a specialization. I can go back to the slide if you want to see, since there is some questions about the specializations. Here is the international one within accounting. That's the most relevant one, and actually it's quite new. We have typically have it only in Norwegian, but now we have made it also for international. Guro, do you take accounting now for Norwegian?
No, unfortunately, I'm not. I've just taken one subject like company law.
Yeah. But as you see, it's and also you can take elements, as Ayul mentioned. You can build one major, and also Mikko mentioned this with the 45 ECTS within one of these specializations, and then you can have a support like a extra profile combination, or you can choose yourself. So it's really very flexible within your interests.
Thank you so much. So a participant is also asking if you can tell us more about maybe also your own experiences of any internships and partnerships to work while studying, if there are any.
Yeah, I mean, Ayul and Maria has talked a little bit. Maria, maybe you want to.
I can, so both me and Aygul, we've had at least internships during the summer, so between the first and the second year of your master degree. But I also know that there are a few firms, because I remember from that career event, there are a few firms, Norwegian firms at least, that hire some students during the semester. So there are internship possibilities that you can have like a few work hours during the semester, but also some students that do internships during the winter as well. So there are quite a few options. I've only done it during the summer. I don't know if any of the other students have done it during the semester, but there are a few options, definitely, yeah.
I haven't done it, but I know there's also the option to take an internship abroad that you can integrate into your semester if that's something you're interested in. So you can like combine it with a course that prepares you for like intercultural problems you might experience, and then you get credits for that as well.
That's very useful information. I go, thank you.
Thank you. And also I want to add one more thing about the partnerships. There is an internal website that the NHH publish advertisements, job offers, internship offers, and also the career events is a big event where you can meet with the company representatives and ask about the preferences and the application procedure, deadlines, and everything.
And I also would like to mention, since we're talking about internship, actually yesterday we had the manager of the Norwegian Petroleum Fund, which is the world's biggest pension fund. The oil fund leader was here because we just launched the internship in asset management, which will be a working internship where you will get paid, but you will also get ACTS for doing this program. And this is a great opportunity for students to try out the finance industry and to work there and to get to know this industry before you sort of decide if this is the industry for you. So this is a very great opportunity, and this is something we do together with the Norwegian Bank and the Norwegian the Oil Petroleum Fund. So we're very happy with that.
Thank you so much, Martha, and thank you, Aygul and Sabrina, for your input as well, and Maria. I see a lot of questions about the government funded and what does that actually mean. So of course, we already mentioned that tuition is free for students coming from the EU, the EEA, and Switzerland. But perhaps we can dive in a bit more in depth about the cost of living. So provided that tuition may be free for some students, what can they actually expect in terms of, for example, monthly expenses?
Yeah, so maybe one of the international students, maybe Mikko, you can answer this in terms of what you can expect of cost living
Yeah.
in Norway.
So of course that's like really depends on like how much you want to experience, how much what you want to travel. But like for example, for me, I pay like my biggest expenses are like food, rent, and yeah, things like public transport and things like that. So like some examples are like rent for me is like 4,500 crowns. That's roughly like 450 euros. Public transport for students is around I think it's 450 crowns a month, so 45 euros. And food depends so much what kind of diet you eat, one like yeah. So that's like really hard to estimate, but yeah, of course Norway is known to be like higher. You like the cost of living is higher than in many other places, but like when you are studying in a tuition free school, of course that compensates for that quite much. But of course, yeah, it's so hard to say how much like specific people. I know some students go fishing because it's free to fish in the ocean, and then they're eating fish, so like that's also an option. But some like to eat out and oh, it's true. I know some French guys. So yeah. So it's many options, and but I feel like many people can afford to live here and study here, and I don't think that's like a big issue for me.
But it's a good tip because we do actually have the best seafood and one of the best fish in the world. So I can imagine that some French students have been doing that. And just to also say a little bit more about that, it's like a part of the Norwegian culture also is that because of the food prices has always been high, because we have to import a lot of things. We sort of have a lot of culture of cooking together at home. So I know this, as a student, you do a lot of social activities together at home, and maybe go out later on. So the Norwegian culture is not so much out eating in restaurants because sometimes, but it's more like the coziness of coming together and socialize and cooking together. So.
Yeah, I can also jump in here and mention that like as an international student, I had to get a residence permit, and so many people coming to Norway from outside of the EU will have to get a residence permit, and that'll be sort of through your application process and after you receive your admissions. But because I have my temporary residence here, I'm also able to work, and so besides, being a student ambassador, I also work at a gym, which is an American gym. And so they were very open to hiring international people because they operate in English. And quite a few of my friends who are also on the dual degree program work at bars, they work at restaurants, and they work at a lot of places where they have a lot of international customers. And so they're really open to hiring international people for those roles. So I've definitely found a way to make it a super affordable experience because I've been able to work a little bit on the side of my studies.
Thank you so much, Molly, and thank you so much, Nicole, also for your input. And of course, I mean, living in Norway, I assume it's going to be slightly more on the expensive side, depending on where students are coming from. But as Molly just mentioned, it's important to support oneself also and just put yourselves out there. I mean, I assume that working and studying at the same time is a great way to just socialize and meet new people, network, and it will bring you for sure many opportunities. So to move forward with the remaining questions, a participant is asking, they have a degree in business administration. Can they apply to the business analytics program?
Yes, as I mentioned earlier, there are the same admission requirements for all the different specialization. So as long as you meet 90 ECTS within business and administration, and you most likely have it if you have a bachelor degree in administration. So yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Google. So a participant is asking about some further information on the Energy, Natural Resources and the Environment program. Could we dive a bit deeper into what the academic offer for this program is? Perhaps any insight on the available courses, internships? Thank you.
Yeah, I think Sabrina can, since she is in that specialization, maybe she can highlight some of the courses.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, that's my major. And that's one of the reasons I actually came to Norway and to NHH as well, because it's pretty unique and pretty new. And it covers like a wide range of topics, meaning that you can, even within that major, you can still like find the area you're most interested in. For example, like I chose like courses overall that were more like sustainably focused, like sustainable finance, sustainable marketing, sustainable business models. And then I was also going more towards like the energy courses. So I really get like an understanding of what the energy market looks like in Norway, but also all over Europe. But then again, you can also, for example, focus on shipping and fisheries, which is also something that's really big in Norway. So you can, for example, combine that really well also with the business analytics minor, because like shipping data, but also the energy data is really like, you know, data heavy. So that would be handy if you have some programming skills. But you can really make it what you want. And I feel like they've been adding a lot of new courses every semester. So there's always new courses popping up with like addressing recent or relevant, you know, topics, because sustainability is something that's getting more and more important. And I feel like it's also pretty demanded by companies, because nowadays every company has to like work on their sustainability and is creating like an ESG or CSR department. So I think that's pretty relevant. And we also, there's some courses that connect you with the industry. Like we had one course called Energy and Resource Industries, where we had each and every lecture given by a company in Norway that was working in the natural resource or energy sector, and was telling us about like what they're doing and like teaching us from their perspective. So you also got like the industry experience, not experience, but like the connections right there.
Thank you so much, Sabrina, for your input. Martha, please.
Yeah, I think maybe I can stop sharing my screen so that everybody sees us maybe a little bit better.
Yeah, thank you so much, Martha. So, I mean, we've covered pretty much everything, going from the available programs to the scholarships to the admission criteria. So I would ask participants if they have any specific questions for the students from NHH that are here with us today. It would be great just to make the most out of their presence here. I see one raised hand, and Martina, if you have any questions, please feel free to use the Q&A box or the chat to type away, and we'll be happy to answer. In the meantime, while we are waiting for more questions to come in, I just wanted to ask you guys, what has been so far in your experience the best tool that NHH has given you to succeed either in your personal or professional lives?
I can start. Yeah, so I personally feel like the most valuable thing is networking. Like as both Maria and Agu said earlier, like you network on the one hand side with like companies, and there's so many events going on and like internships and everything that you kind of have like sort of handed to you. So you build like a professional career network, but on the other side, you also build like a network with like people that come here, but also if you go on exchange, so you have like friends from all around the world. Even if you don't go on exchange, like you will have internationals here and you will have a Norwegian network. And essentially you get a lot of new perspectives. And yeah, I think it's really valuable.
I can tell you about my perspective. I think the thing that I like most about NHH is that the courses are really practical. You just don't learn the theory, but you use the data, you use the actual programs that's been using in the work life every single day, and you use the real data to work on the real case studies. And even for some interviews, I was just talking about my last assignment as a case study, or giving that as an example of how I solved a problem that was new, something like that. Like it gives you the skills that are in demand in the job market, but it's like really practical, but also you get the theory and the background and everything.
Yeah, Mikko, will you continue?
Yeah, I think it's just like for me, maybe it's the kind of the broadness of the opportunity you get from the school. Like you really can choose what you want to study. Like in every program, like you said about like the finance, and also Sabrina said about that they can like really choose what they're interested in a single minor or a major as well. I think that kind of really opens the door to your career, what you want to pursue, and like that there is so many options. Like there is from finance, there is to marketing. Like there, it's such a broad, like like what you can choose from, and also like you can choose. You don't have to choose when you apply, or you have to choose when you apply, but you can also change it after you have applied. If you find like, oh, I really want to do finance instead of business analytics or whatever, like you can really choose what you want to go towards, and like that you can, like IQ has also said, that you can mix, you can have the minor in something that supports what you're interested in, and like you really get the tools to go to the job market afterwards.
Anybody else wants to share their?
Yes, I can add on that, or what Mikko just said as well. There's so many specializations to choose from, and within all specializations, especially some of them, there are tons of different courses to choose from as well. So even if you want to do a major in finance and a minor in strategy, there's so many different options. You don't have to go do the same courses as everyone else does within the same specialization. And I think that's quite unique with NHH. And it's tied to the fact that NHH is that business only faculty. So there's so many options, even just within the specializations. And also, I just wanted to add on what Egil said as well. With these cases, they're super relevant. I also had the same situation where I mentioned results from a case I had done at school in an interview, and I got that internship as well. And I'm 100% sure it's because of that assignment I had at NHH. So it's very relevant what you're taught in class and the cases you read, and especially in my strategy classes, a lot of the scientific articles and things we've been discussing in class are very like new and up to date. So it's not just the least super interesting as well, or at least I think it's super interesting.
Thank you all so much for your input. And I do see a couple of questions. One came in the chat, so I will start from that. Rachel is asking if there are any graduate assistantships or funding for business-related courses available.
I'm not sure if it's like official thing, but I have seen some of the programming courses they're searching or looking for teaching assistants, because usually there are like 100 or 200 students in a programming class, and during the lectures when a couple of the students like need help, so sometimes teaching assistants are in the lectures and like approach to the student who have difficulty and help them. I have seen some kind of teaching assistant like applications and advertisements, but
yeah, that's true, and Sabrina probably can add on that as well.
Yeah, there's also like the research assistant positions. Like I recently had one, or still have one, for like different departments. So there's like, you know, for example, I'm in the accounting department, and then they have different projects that they work on, and depending on that is literally what you're doing. But I think there's actually quite a lot of positions for graduates to like work and support their departments, both like physically in class, but also just with their research or whatever they're working on.
Thank you so much, Sabrina and Egil. In the meantime, Fabricio asks if they can get more information elsewhere, and I assume they are asking for a link where maybe they can browse the available programs, some contacts to get in touch with NHH, and I can
share the slide here that I remember I did not share that actually in the beginning. Sorry for that, but I will find it here. If you just give me 1 second.
Sure thing, Martha.
I'm able to share it again. Do you see now my slide?
Yes,
Perfect.
we see the
So
Q&A
this one is the slide where you see all our social media channels. Actually, I see that we forgot to put in TikTok. We're also on TikTok now. So that's where you get the more like informal content, as well on our Snapchat. That's of the students, for the students. So that's very internal if you want to see the life inside NHH. I recommend you guys to follow our Instagram. There you will also see what happens at campus, and you also see stories from the students. And of course, all the ambassadors here today, as well as Guro, who is helping out on the staff area at Unibody, will help you guys to answer any questions you'll have. This is under our webpage. When you go into our check out the study programs, it's very easy there. You will see the link to chat with the student ambassadors. And yeah, and also check out YouTube. And we are basically on all social media channels. There you will find everything. But it's really nice to reach out through Unibody if you have any questions to any of the ambassadors here today. They can help you.
Thank you so much, Martha. And I just wanted to reassure all participants, even those who joined us later, that you will get an email after this event with the recording and of course with all the information to get in touch with NHH. And as Martha mentioned, feel free to follow NHH on social media and to get in touch with the students that are here with us today. So unless we have any further questions, I would like to thank all participants for sticking with us until the end, and of course to all NHH students and Martha as well, and Guro for their presence here tonight and for taking the time to answer all the questions. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I hope to see you all, hopefully, for the next event in partnership with NHH. Until then, I wish you a safe and nice day or evening, according to where you are connecting from. Thank you so much. And until next time, stay safe. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.